Welcome to Chik Chat, the podcast where the girl with many titles talks about life, the good and the bad, and everything around it. We're going to sit, chat, share life stories and experiences, from business to relationship. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Chik Chat podcast. So this week I decided this is a very vulnerable one, but I thought I've put a few things out recently on social media, just in terms of mental health, that seem to resonate quite a lot with people. So I thought, this would be a good time to talk about basically what I've learned in the last year since I ended things with my ex. So we're going to get straight into it. What is my struggle of the week or the tip of the week? So I think my struggle of the week at the moment is just, I don't know if it's burnt out, but my cycles are completely off. I am trying to get myself to a place where within the business that I'm doing stuff, and like with the team, we're doing stuff that is aligned to what we want to do, but it's not as simple as that when you've got to earn money to survive. And there are things that I want to try and do, and not that I can't do them, it's just I suppose sometimes focusing on what needs to be done. So I suppose my challenge of the week at the moment is just getting back into a rhythm that I'm happy with, and to get me and the team in a place where, especially because we're all around the world, you can't just see each other in an office and just checking on each other and say hi. So I just want to make sure that we're in a place where I've put in extra steps to make sure that, especially like when I know that when I'm struggling, I disappear. So I want to get us into a place where we're communicating more, I'm communicating more, to be fair, and the whole team feels supported, because ultimately I keep being reminded that I'm lucky enough to choose what we do as a business, as a team, and we work together. So my challenge of the week at the moment is just give myself a bit of a break, and just putting things in place that keep me in a good headspace. So right, a year ago, so it was on Saturday, I think, a year ago, I ended things with my ex. And for those of you that know me personally or have followed me online for a long time, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Like my blogs and everything is still up from when we were together. And it wasn't something, it's funny, like he used to joke that if anyone was going to end a relationship, it'd be me. And I couldn't see myself doing that. And this is something that I've really struggled with last year, because ultimately I did it, and I walked away when I was ready to walk away, when I knew that was me completely done, I wasn't going back. But what I've struggled with is the fact that, one, I am someone that loves deeply and doesn't like hurting people, and I've only been in 2 serious relationships, but whenever it comes to dating, anyone I've dated, normally it's the guys that, well, up until like last year, it would be the guys that would normally call things off. I've just always preferred that. So to be in a position where I was a person ending things with someone that I still loved and cared about, it's been really difficult, because I felt like I abandoned this person. And I did a TikTok on this the other day, and I know that loads of people resonate, but I think when you are someone that hates being let down, and you feel like you've done that to someone, you end up blaming yourself for stuff that ultimately it's not on you. And although I've really struggled in the fact that I feel like I abandoned this person, I know that I did the right thing for me. I know that I did the right thing in choosing myself, but that doesn't change the fact that I hate being the person that hurts someone else, because I never wanted to be that person. But on the flip side of that works both ways. And I keep giving myself mini therapy sessions where I'm like, but they could have not hurt you. They could have not done the things that ultimately caused you to walk away. And logically, I know that, but in my heart of hearts, that doesn't change anything, because I suppose like I said anyway, this is someone that I loved and cared about deeply. And that doesn't just go overnight. So that's the one thing I've kind of learned, that you live with this guilt that it's not yours, and you have to deal with that. But ultimately it is something that you do have to go through. And another thing that I also learned was, I am so glad I went to therapy, and I had gone to therapy before this, because in choosing myself back then. And I look back now, like this like last week or so, it's just been really heavy on me. And I even feel emotional just saying this now. But there were things that, like, we lost a family friend the year before. So the anniversary was coming up. I went through like another traumatic experience that same week that I ended things. And it's something that, I'm not going to cry. It's something that I'm still dealing with. But thank God I went to therapy, because ultimately, like, it was really funny. I stopped going to therapy the week after I ended things, because I knew that I had the tools to deal with life. I knew I had the tools to be okay, and I've gone in for a check-in once after that, and I like I've said in previous episodes, I will go back for some other, like, trauma that I've lived with, but I was able to just get on with life and move on, knowing that, yes, it was hard. It was so hard. How would you go 5.5 years having a best friend that is there every single day, that you talk to every single day, that knows everything inside and out, and then all of a sudden this person's not there anymore? This person, it's not even like they don't exist, because for a while, like, we'd said we were going to be friends, and then it got to a point where I was like, I felt like I was still giving more than this person deserved in terms of a friendship, because I wasn't getting what I felt like I needed from a friend. And it wasn't that anyone turned around and said, okay, we're, like, completely cutting contact, but it's just been a very long time since we did talk. But yeah, dealing with that grief, dealing with life at that time, and dealing with the repercussions of this last year have been very difficult. And if it hadn't been for me going into therapy, a part of me would have wanted to go back, because that was what was familiar, that was what was safe, that was what I knew, whether it was healthy or not. That was what gave me comfort, because I think especially when you deal with things in life, actually this leads on to my next point, and I've not even, like, planned this, but I've kind of thought about some of the things that I did want to talk about. And the next one is how grateful I am to have been loved the way that I was, because I look at where me and G are at the moment, and for all the faults of me and my ex and what we brought into the relationship and maybe the unhealthy aspects of it, there have been things that I've realised as a black woman, as a woman, that my ex brought a joy into my life and helped me navigate culture, my relationship with my parents. And as I was then learning, obviously through therapy, learning to set boundaries and to be in a place where I could really stand up for myself and be where I needed to be with the outside world, no matter who they were, I was reminded that this person loved me in a way that I went from my previous ex cheating on me in the worst possible way and having to deal with trusting someone again and building something that meant something to me, to all of a sudden now looking back going, actually, the foundation I had in terms of how I felt about myself and what I knew I wanted has only brought, like, is it amazingness into my life? Like, the person that G is in my life, obviously, like, I know that I know what I was looking for. I know that it's me setting boundaries. It's me being very clear in terms of the partner that I was looking for. And I did date some people that clearly weren't ready to be committed, or I just wasn't feeling them. But G has been someone in my life that, to be loved the way that I currently feel, it's like a fairy tale. It is, I don't even know how to put it into words without crying, because I think, especially when I look back now, there are so many women around me that I grew up thinking they were loved, and now I look back and now I'm older, you just go, that's not what a healthy relationship looks like. And then to suddenly leave that, I feel like God's rewarded me for having the balls to leave that situation by going, here is a good man, here is a kind man, here is a man that will love you for the person that you are, for all your quirks, will support you. Like, we were having a discussion the other day about, so basically I've been, like, I'm a religious person, but I don't talk about my faith very much online, because I think that's a personal thing for me. And we went to a memorial mass for the family member, the family friend that died a couple of years ago. And I had been thinking recently about just how, like, I've not been going to mass as often as maybe I'd like to. Like, I still practice spirituality, I still pray, I still do those things, but I just felt a bit like I wasn't making much effort in my relationship with God. And G is a complete atheist. And we were just sat in the car, and all of a sudden he was like, oh, if you ever want me to, like, go to mass with you, like, that's no problem. And obviously, as we're looking at the future, like, having kids, and just I'm having this space to be able to think about the things that I do want out of life, and it's becoming clear what I want. To have him say what he said, and just to even sit and talk about, like, my faith and how that would be in our relationship, and when we have kids, and if we want to get married and all that, it was just a really beautiful thing. And I think, like I said, I feel at the moment like God is rewarding me for having the balls to step away from something that made me feel so safe, because ultimately I just have this world I didn't even know did exist. But that's because I was loved the way that I was. It's because I chose myself in the most difficult of circumstances, and I didn't settle on the person that I then decided to be with. And yeah, that's deep. It's a lot. And do you know what? I don't even want this to be a long podcast. So I'm gonna go to how am I feeling? Well, I think it's very clear. I think mentally I'm still in a good place, but I've just been feeling really down and really low the last kind of few weeks, because, like I said, my cycle has been it's been doing its own thing. And then obviously then just having to deal with, like, this time of year and what it means, that's also not been very easy. But I feel so lucky and happy to be surrounded by the people that I am, because, yeah, they just make life so much easier. The little routines that we have, I'm just really appreciative right now of the people that I do have, because they're just making things easier. So anyway, getting back to it. Do you know what? The next thing I learned is how lonely the path can be of healing, of being in a healthy relationship, of choosing yourself, setting boundaries, because ultimately, I remember one of the first things that women around me, like the aunties and, like, older women around me, would say was, oh, but are you sure? Like, you were so close to getting married and having kids. And ultimately, that's why I ended things. We were so close to doing that when I looked at it and I looked at the future I was going to have, it freaks me out, because that wasn't what I wanted. I knew I was going to repeat cycles I didn't want to repeat. I was going to be with someone that didn't know how to love themselves. So ultimately, how could they consistently love me? And when it came down to it, that was it. So when you explain to family members and, like I said, the aunties and so on, that this is why I've chosen to walk away, I think there's too much in our culture of accepting stuff you shouldn't accept. Because I think sometimes about the advice I'd give my niece if she was in the same situation, and I'd say, good on you for choosing yourself. I wouldn't focus on what she was walking away from. I wouldn't focus on how, oh, what if you don't have kids? What if you don't get married? And all that side of it, because all that does is set panicking. And if I wasn't so confident in myself at that time, either I'd have gone back, or I'd have settled and been with someone else that didn't deserve me. And there were definitely contenders there for people that I went on dates with that were lovely, lovely people, but needed to do work on themselves. And I wasn't willing to get into a relationship with someone that hadn't even started to do the work on themselves when I knew where I was. Like, I'm 30 this year, and I feel like this is the first year that I'm starting to really get to know myself. And especially when you're dating slightly older men, if you haven't done that work yourself, it's not happening. I wasn't going to do that to myself. And another thing that I have learned, I think, goes back to just how scary healthy relationships can be. Not in the sense that, like, there's something wrong with a healthy relationship, but I think it's the fact that you have to unlearn so many bad behaviours. You're so used to being a particular person in a relationship, and you're so used to seeing things a particular way, to suddenly be faced with this person like, G has been to therapy. we've not had one argument or anything that's even been close to being an argument, and we're nearly a year down the line. Why? Because we communicate, and we communicate really efficiently and really healthily. Doesn't mean that there hasn't been anything in terms of our relationships that's needed work, because there has. It'd be little things like I'm learning how I want to be loved more. Like I said, I've got this foundation where I knew that, okay, these are the things I appreciated with my ex. And then Jeeb came in and gave me like a step up on that. And then I've had then time to sit back and reflect and go, actually, what else do I want? And I've been able to go and sit and talk about the other things that I want and in what types of situations I want those in. Everything from, if I'm on my period, there are certain things that like G will do that he knows because we've discussed it. If I'm just feeling down, there are certain things that he'll do. If I just want to feel loved and have my love languages met, there are certain things that he'll do. And obviously this goes vice versa. But yeah, being in a healthy relationship, it freaks you out because you do realise that you've still got so much work to do on yourself, but it's also such a beautiful thing. And yeah, it's a really nice thing. And do you know what? I'm going to end it on this one. And the next thing that I have learned is just how strong I am. And I know that I've always been really strong, but this last few years, I have really, really struggled with my mental health, with just getting to know myself as a person and who I am, and just feeling like I don't belong in a lot of spaces. Like growing up, I didn't feel like I belonged in a lot of spaces anyway, but it wasn't a positive thing because I could jump between groups of people and do different things, whereas at the moment, I am living this authentic life, and I feel like I'm being rewarded for living this authentic life. And when I look back at just how strong I've been and some of the things that I've been through, this last year has given me time to kind of grieve some of the things that I went through. Like at the moment, I'm getting emotional again, but like at the moment I'm going through like my previous ex, not this last ex, but the previous ex cheating on me when we thought Dad was dying, and just how there wasn't time to kind of deal with that trauma. And I don't think I've still dealt with that trauma properly, but I have been able to sit and, do you know what, just look at like me choosing myself in this situation, in this climate, in this world. Not many people, not that people weren't supportive, but like I said, there were people that like would freak you out and go, oh, but when are you going to get married? When are you going to do all these things? And ultimately, me choosing myself and me having the strength that I do have has taught me that I don't always want to be the strongest person. I don't always want to do it all, and that's okay because I've proven to myself I can do it all. I am really strong, and I can appreciate myself, and I've done a lot of work on my inner child, obviously like these solo dates I was going on. I had a solo date today that started with just me like tidying some stuff up and clearing out some cupboards to go into the dump and then go into B&Q to get a plant. But there are these things that I now know about myself that give me inner peace, that my inner child sometimes just really feels like, it's like I'm giving myself a pat on the back and just saying, do you know what, go you for dealing with things that you didn't even think at one point that you could deal with. Because there have been days I have not wanted to get out of bed, I've not gone out of bed, but I have managed to make the business even better, build the team even more, have a healthy relationship with someone that I love to death and loves me back, build on my relationships with my other family members, like spend so much time with my brother and my niece, and just do things that are unapologetically me. And even in the line of work that I'm in, I think, and I know my parents are still kind of freaked out about what I've chosen to do and the path I've chosen to take, but to be able to unapologetically just say, yeah, this is me, this is what I'm going to do, and I know that you're worried, but I'm not going to let that sway me. I am so proud of how strong I am as a person, but I'm also so proud of the fact that I've learned I don't need to always be completely strong. I am learning to let the men in my life help me and do things for me, and that's ultimately teaching me that I can be loved in other ways and I can choose other ways. Like, just because you decide something right now, whether it's your career, family, situation, love, whatever, it doesn't mean that that's you done. Because I remember having a conversation with Dad where he was talking about because I was talking about like where like, me and G are in terms of like moving forward and wanting to settle down and all of that. And Dad had said, "Oh, but you wanted to get married to your ex." I was like, "Yeah, but I changed my mind and I walked away from that. Doesn't mean you can't start again." And I think even to be able to like sit and say things like that without fear, without worry, yeah, I'm just so proud of how strong I am as a person, and I'm so grateful for the people that I saw online and have seen online that look like me, that still support me every day when I talk about the things that I'm struggling with, because it's not an easy path and some days are easier than others, but yeah, it's beautiful and it can be really beautiful. So I will end with my win of the week, and I think my win of the week at the moment is allowing myself to work when I feel inspired, to do things, and like obviously you've got to earn a paycheck, but in terms of doing things that are authentically me and building a business that is me, I'm really proud that I'm building something that allows me to be able to take a step back sometimes and figure things out. And then whilst I am still trying to figure things out, it won't, like, it obviously it will just happen overnight one day, but so much work has gone into that that I'm giving myself a little bit of a breather, and it's been really beneficial. So yeah, nice win of the week. So I'll end it on there, and I will say thank you as always for liking, subscribing, keep doing all that, and following all of my pages. It's Chikuma F or a Diver Chick online. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week.